So I am Dee Sandall. I'm a pastor in the ELCA, and I work with the Center of Addiction and Grace with these book clubs sometimes. And so I like to open all of it with a word of prayer because, God's the one that kind of keeps us all kind of motivated in the right direction. Oh, dear Lord God, thank you for giving us this freezing cold weather so we can appreciate warm weather. And thank you for having people that have courage to write books, to have a vision, to see something and try and make changes happen. We just so appreciate Carolyn and all the work she's done. And we appreciate all authors that are trying to help those that are still suffering. We just pray that through your word, they may find hope and help. We lift it up in your name. Amen. So, yes, so today we're going to hear from Carolyn. This is your last week?
No, one more.
One more, okay. And yes, and everybody that has been here, that is anybody new? I'm not sure. Oh, look I renamed you my name. How about that? Who are you with the blue shirt and the black sweater?
I'm Megan Hall.
Megan, I renamed you mine. That was very nice of me to do that. No. You might want to change your name there.
I can do that.
Well, I am not going to take up any more time. I think most of us have gotten a little acclimated now. And let me know when you're ready, Caroline.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and it's so nice to be back again. So yes, this is the third of 4 weeks. So really just have so enjoyed connecting with you all. It looks like we have a little bit of a smaller group today, which is great. I think sometimes smaller groups just facilitate, more of a deeper connection. So we'll kind of stick with a similar format. I wanted to announce a couple things too before we get started. Of course, I'm so glad we started with prayer. And just that helps kind of get things set off on the right foot here. But a couple of just announcements, and I kind of dropped a hint of this last time. I don't know, I would love to hear what you all think. I'm toying with the idea of doing a book club through my Substack community called Circle of Chairs, where we would talk about a couple different recovery related books and just connect. I wanted to help facilitate some community and just connecting regularly with people. So I don't know, I'm assuming you all, especially folks who are here for week 3, are kind of diehard book fans. I don't know, am I right about that? So I'm looking to join fellow book lovers for kind of like a monthly connection. So anyways, will you email me if that sounds interesting to you? And then the second thing, so my mom could not join our conversations this month, but she, Diana Dallas, you'll notice on the cover of the book, co-wrote pieces of the book with me, co-wrote the book with me, and was so gracious and generous to include excerpts from her story. My mom and I are looking for opportunities to connect with faith communities. So she's going to be actually moving here later this spring. I'm hoping God works that out. But we're looking for opportunities to connect with faith communities, either in person or virtually. We would love to come talk, with your community about our story, come together. We have about an hour talk. So that might be, if that's something that's interesting or of interest to you, whether you work at an organization or maybe you're a lay leader or clergy, please, reach out. I'm in Eastern Tennessee. And also willing to travel. So I work with a federal agency called Opioid Response Network, and sometimes they're generous enough to send us places to talk about issues connected to addiction recovery. So, but I'd love to talk more with your group or with you individually about that. So just couple housekeeping things here before we get started. So again, it sounds like we've all been together, no new folks. So we know that how we've been starting these sessions each week is starting with a prompt. So this week's prompt, and we can go around, say who we are and answer the prompt. I'm going to type it in the chat right now. The prompt is, for me, being real looks like. And then you can fill in the blanks. For me, being real looks like. And I'm going to share first, since I'm putting everyone on the spot to do this. So I'm Caroline coming in from Eastern Tennessee. And for me, being real looks like connecting with a group of women and being honest. All right. And I'm just going to call folks out based on who I see on my Zoom screen. Megan, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Next.
Yeah, so I'm Megan. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. And to me, I would say it looks like being authentic and not having to keep up with different versions of different stories of what I'm trying to present, but just really being who I am and being free to be authentic.
I love that so much. I don't know if you all have heard in meetings sometimes, and I remember feeling like I connected with this so much, but like the chameleon effect, it's like depending on what group you're with or who you have this ability to kind of blend into your surroundings. And it's so free when we can be who we are and be who God made us to be authentically and show up that way. So thank you, Megan, for sharing. Dee?
Yeah, I'm Dee Sandal. I'm in Hastings, Minnesota, just south of St. Paul. And being real looks like being honest and open and not making myself small. I think that we can be so much greater and over the top if we want to be. And often we just have to tone ourselves down. We're afraid to let ourselves go. And to me, that I just heard that line last week, making ourselves small. And I think we've all, especially as women, may have felt like that.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's such an important insight. And yeah, I agree. I think as women, definitely sometimes that we're asked to make ourselves less than so that other women, particularly I've experienced this, so we don't want to have anyone else feel uncomfortable. If we show up as ourselves, gosh forbid, Dee would feel uncomfortable if Caroline showed up today, like really showed up. So yeah, I can connect with that a lot, Dee. Thank you for sharing. Louise, and you come back again with that lovely background. I'm telling you, beautiful. I think you might have, you're still on mute.
There.
There we go.
Louise Olson from Bloomington, Minnesota. And I don't really know how to answer that question. I liked what Dee said about being honest and open and authentic. So I'll go with that.
Great. Wonderful answer. Yeah. Thank you so much. Good to see you again. Jennifer.
Am I on already? My volume? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I had to borrow my daughter's headphones so that I'm the only one in the meeting instead of everybody in the house. And the cord is really short.
Oh.
I think I feel real when I don't have to like get fancy. I feel like I know that sounds kind of weird, but where I have to try to use big words and, big flaunting ideas or something like that, as well as feeling like I have to wear certain clothes, like at church on Sunday, when I'm up in front of people, it's like, oh, I got to draw my eyebrows on. And I feel like the drawing the eyebrows on is kind of like what you do inside you too. And trying to make sure I'm on my best behavior. I just want to have, if I want to swear, I want to swear. And not feeling like being real means I don't have to like hide that.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. So for you, being real looks like no eyebrows, a little bit of a potty mouth, I think, and no church clothes.
Right. And being sarcastic. I guess that means I'm real when I'm being sarcastic.
Okay. Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing. That's great. Gail, so nice to see you again.
Well, thank you. For me, being real looks like kind of the way I look today, literally, which is not even cleaned up yet, but showing up anyway. But very much like Megan said, like being my real self authentically, being completely honest about who I am, and pushing through that discomfort of, possible rejection for that. So that's being real for me. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's such a good point about the pushing through the rejection. Are we okay with the world rejecting us, or, we don't come with our eyebrows on, if the world says something about that, but what is God going to say? More than likely, it's okay that you don't have your eyebrows on today. So, so glad you're here. Cynthia. Oh, we have two Cynthias. Why don't we start with Cynthia Shammy?
Hi, I'm from Indiana, and for me, to be authentic is to not be afraid to say what I'm really feeling inside. And that's hard for me a lot of times.
Mhm.
That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, so important. Tam.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. For me, being real looks like staying sober. I've been sober 3 years, the end of this month. And being honest, yesterday I was very depressed. I got some news from my daughter, and I'm not real happy about it, but it is what it is. And I cannot enable her. I could just support her and be kind. And it's just a tough situation. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and just being real for, how you're showing up today. And that is, it's hard sometimes when we have those things going on in our life to just be able to show up anyways. All right, but last but not least, Cynthia, the other Cynthia, thank you so much for your patience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy from Washington State. Being real to me means having my self-time to be filled with ease and slowness in order to just enhance my ability to connect with others. So it's a courageous experience.
I love that. Love that so much. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to have this group gathered together today. It just is always I've just really enjoyed our time together. And I hope you feel the same. I'm assuming maybe because you're here. Not sure where everyone else is, but they get a pass this week. Hopefully they come back next week. Let's see here. So I thought we could start again today with a reading. And then I'd love to hear if folks have specific passages or things they'd like to talk about in the book. If you've been able to read and kind of make it through parts of the book, we're going to kind of be centered in the third and fourth rhythms today. So the fourth rhythm being getting real, and the third rhythm being leaning in to the struggle. So we're going to kind of, and then next week we'll be wrapping things up with the fifth rhythm, my personal favorite, letting God. So let's see here. I have a couple notes. Okay. So again, we're going to start with the reading, and then we can go into some questions. If you have sections from the book that have jumped out to you or spoken to you that you'd like to talk about today, if you want to pop the page number into the chat, and then we can have a discussion about that as well as we move along today. All right, so for those who have books with them, I'm on page 103. 103. And the title of the chapter is On a Path to Change. On a Path to Change. I'm glad I never got a purple butterfly tattoo on the small of my back. No offense to anyone else out there, but in my glory days, the term tramp stamp had not yet become common vernacular. I'm wondering if anyone knows what I'm talking about by tramp stamp. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you are fortunate. There were a couple tattoos I toyed with over the years, looking up pictures and drawing elementary school sketches on my arms and thighs and ankles and back. Nabokov's Butterfly, an airy bluish purple, during my obsession with Russian literature, don't ask, or the Latin phrase per aspera ad astra, through hardship to the stars, until I found out that it was both the motto of Kansas and on the cardboard container of Pall Mall cigarettes. Neither stuck permanently, thankfully, but my fascination with butterflies remains. And you'll notice behind me, just digression, I'm in my work office today, so you'll see I have a butterflies and moths of the Smoky Mountains poster behind me. I love butterflies. Recovery in the spiritual sense can be a complete change, a metamorphosis. Did you know that the concept of metamorphosis is way more complicated than we all learned about in 4th grade with the chart with clip graphics of the egg, larva, pupa, and butterfly long before YouTube? The origin of the word itself comes from Greek roots, meta meaning change and morph meaning form. Not until recently did I learn that there is no consensus among scientists and entomologists or bug study people for defining types of insect metamorphosis. There has been division internationally whether many of the species that do go through a process of metamorphosis should be given different names for different stages. I've encountered something similar in my work with women with co-occurring addiction and trauma, along with having dealt with this myself. For many of us who seek addiction treatment, the topic of trauma is something that is not discussed for a long time, if ever, by mental health professionals in their approach to addiction. It took me a little over 15 years of seeing innumerable therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, and addiction treatment specialists before finally someone diagnosed me with post-traumatic stress disorder. It might be strange to hear this, unless you need to hear it too, but as soon as those words were uttered in that therapist's office, a piece of me could finally relax. Not only did I have reasons for how I'd struggled so long, but I finally had hope that I could heal. I had direction. The sad reality is that many folks do not make the connection to trauma and therefore do not find direction. Maybe you're waiting too. Maybe you are on your own path to metamorphosis, yet no one is stepping in as you are moving from one stage of healing to the next, to say, hey, you over there, larva or whatever, did you know that adding, fill in the blank, to your treatment will increase your sense of safety and agency and help to promote positive coping strategies? Or perhaps a little less jargony, hey you, have you experienced trauma and are not dealing with it? Do you need help learning how to address those symptoms? Many of us are waiting. You are not alone. All of us need people to point out our blind spots when it comes to healing. We need someone like an entomologist for humans, a therapist, sponsor, mentor, friend, to guide us in the metamorphosis. And we'll end the reading there today. It looks like Tam put in chat, your book is on audio. That's wonderful. So any thoughts on that reading or any other readings that have stood out to you? Anyone else have a fascination with butterflies? And you all, I'm not a scientist, my husband is, but it kind of blew my mind when I learned that metamorphosis is a much more complex process than I had initially thought. But it's just, for me, it's such a beautiful kind of metaphor for the recovery journey.
Carolyn, I'm Dee Sandall. I'm from Hastings. So I've been sober a long time. And recently, my grandson is 9. And when he was about 5 or 6, he was diagnosed with ADHD. Pretty soon, the more we learned and I studied and found out about ADHD, we started realizing that the identification, like you did, aha, at least now I know how to deal with it. And it's not just me, but almost everybody in the family, oh yeah, that's and all of us are starting to feel more comfortable about that part of us that we didn't know about because it hadn't been identified. And so it's good to know that and I can call it, when I say something, oh, there goes my ADHD mind. And I go to another subject so quickly. I mean, my husband has been worked hard at 50 years of marriage of trying to figure out what I'm talking about now, because of that ADHD. But I think, when you wrote about that, you know what it is now. Aha, now I know how to deal with it. I mean, even with all this sobriety, I have aha moments all the time. And that catharsis of changing, it's just constant and continuous. And I always go back to peeling back that onion and damn, that's a damn big onion, and peeling back all those layers of who we are, that we're never too old to learn, and we're never, sober enough that we don't need it anymore. Sometimes we feel like we should get there quicker, when we sober up, and damn, it's just a day at a time. They say that stupid old line, and it still works. That I'll pass. I'll be quiet. But anyway, it really hit me about the ADHD.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and what an interesting kind of connection there to make. But when we have these moments of, like you shared, the aha moments that happen, like it doesn't matter how much sobriety time we have, or how long we've been on this journey. And yeah, it's pretty amazing what God will reveal to us over time. And I have a friend who's actually working on a book about his recovery story, and he talks a lot about the journey of sanctification, that kind of peeling back the layers is this kind of sanctification, this working out our faith, with God, and kind of coming to understand ourselves more, and also coming to a new relationship with God through that process, that our understanding of ourself isn't the end goal, but it's this process of relationship with God. And I don't know, it just made me think about that, because, and I think even as I write about topics like this, and, that may tend towards a little bit, and I'm trying to see if it even says on the back of the cover, it feels a little like self-helpy, right? I always try to point towards, but the book is not the end piece, right? And the self-help parts and how to heal your story isn't the end piece, that there's more to the story. And like you shared, Dee, with your family and learning about ADHD, and maybe the bigger picture of how that's impacted more family members and kind of your family as a whole, just how bigger that story gets, and just how more broad that healing kind of trickles out to other family members. So thank you so much for sharing. Any other thoughts on that reading, or any other excerpts? And we may be feeling a little bit more quiet today, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to take some time to reflect on some of these pieces as well. I have a couple more questions. Please feel free to jump in if something else, jumps out at you. One of the things in the third rhythm, which is lean into the struggle, I talk a little bit about different groups of people. We talked last time and had a reading, might have been the first group, about, some of the research that I did in writing the book on Holocaust survivors, and when we look at intergenerational trauma, what the research shows, individuals who've experienced other types of trauma, under-resourced or marginalized folks. I include a story about my friend Jason, who is a man in a recovery who's experienced some really challenging things and trauma, and I include part of his story. But when we talk about, our collective experiences of trauma, even though they may be different, I think sometimes we can connect, like they talk about in recovery, we focus on the similarities and not the differences, but we can connect around our experiences. I'm curious, in your life, and you don't have to say what trauma your family has been through, but in your life, have you found have you found maybe it's peace, maybe it's just a feeling of aha, like we've been talking about, when you hear someone else's story that's been through something hard or traumatic, even if it might not connect exactly with your experience or your family's, I guess, what is that? And I'm trying to frame the question here. Have you experienced some type of connection with someone else's story, I should say, even if that story is different from your own? And what was that like? Did you have an aha moment from that?
I can share, and it actually ties back to the first prompt that you gave to after the reading about having a mentor or a therapist or a sponsor or a friend. And that ties in with this as well, in terms of those aha moments. And that is that my recovery has only been made possible by those types of connections. I mean, when I first decided to quit drinking and joined up with Women for Sobriety, it was only because I was in meetings with other women that were sharing what they had been through and how they're recovering, that I was even able to consider that this might work or that I could actually do this, because I didn't have any faith in myself at that time, didn't trust myself. So it was only through those connections with other women and hearing their stories that I was able to even believe that recovery is possible. And so, that's my aha. I have aha moments every time I'm in a meeting now, which is great. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Gail. And that's so neat to hear that you started with Women for Sobriety. Love that group. And really, I don't know if you were out in the, so yeah, great. Oh my gosh. I went to their conference, and I tell you, it was lit up. It was on fire.
And you were fantastic. Yeah. Great presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You and your mom. Yeah.
Oh, it was just such a joy to be there. So, and I so connect to that and relate to that. And it made me think about my first sponsor when I was doing 12-step recovery. Really early on, her name was Kim. And I just remember it was just like this, almost this like settling into I was going to be okay. Not because I felt okay and like what was happening with me or my healing or my therapy or like whatever, even my faith journey, but it was like, I was okay because Kim showed me how she became okay. And it was like, wow, if Kim can get through her alcoholism and do all of these things, she had gone back to school. And if Kim, she was actually working, part of a program for eating, disordered eating and her relationships with food. And it's like, oh, if Kim can also do this, because I have some of those struggles as well. It's like, oh, there's hope for me, and it wasn't my story, and it wasn't any other message that I heard except when Kim shared her story with me. And I think that's why I'm so moved by storytelling and just the power of stories, and so why I'm so passionate about that. And I guess why I'm continuing to write books and share other people's stories through that process. So thank you for sharing that, Gail. Thank you for, I love being reminded of people along my journey too. It's like, oh, I haven't thought about Kim for so long, but I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for her sharing her story with me, along with a lot of other reasons. But yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts on that? Or
I had said in the chat, it's just affirming, and it's feeling like there's shared humanity in our suffering. That, I mean, it sucks that we're both going through it, but that there's other people processing, there's other people healing, other people trying to get back to some life that they want it to be.
Yeah, agreed. I love that, that shared humanity, and it's so leveling, isn't it? When we can like come to understand that our experience isn't unique. I think that for me, a lot of times that early on too, in my early 20s, I can just remember feeling this sense of like, I'm so different and this has happened to me and no one, no one else. And almost this like, um, it just separated me and caused this division. And so when I met people like Kim and then other people and came to understand like, wow, there is a whole world of people experiencing what I've been through in terms of, I'm thinking specifically like sexual abuse and sexual violence, and then learning more about globally what women go through and experience. I mean, I remember when the Me Too movement started and feeling this real sense of connection with, I wasn't out there posting like Me Too or doing some of those things. But I just remember feeling like in my own place in my living room, reading the boldness of other people's stories and just feeling this connection and this sense of like, I'm not alone. Like this is, unfortunately, I'm not alone, but this is a shared suffering that we've experienced, and we're sharing in this suffering. And for those of us who are faith-based and who in the Bible, it talks about sharing in the sufferings of Christ, so that betrayal and that feeling of alone and feeling of like, where is God? Why are we being forsaken? Some of these ways that Jesus shows us through scripture, how he has suffered, but being a part of that and just, I don't know, it's an incredible thing. It's hard. It's hard, but it's definitely healing. So thank you for sharing that. Let's see here. I'm just looking at the time. Moving into the fourth rhythm, and because I feel like we have a group that maybe feels a little more reflective today, maybe all of the introvert showed up today, which is so cool because whether or not you believe it, I am an introvert at heart. I took the Myers-Briggs and all that, and they told me so I must be. But why don't we do a little bit of reflection? I'm going to type in the chat a reflection question, and I want you to spend some time thinking about this question. You can journal, or you can, just spend some time thinking about it. It's going to be a little bit of a journal prompt. We're going to come back together. We can talk about it, and we don't have to. But I'd encourage you, what comes up for you initially, it's going to be like one of those, if I say tree, what's the first thing that comes to mind? That's not what it is, but I'm going to say the prompt, and what first comes to mind might be something that needs to be, that's important for you to think about. So we can share with the group, or I'd like to encourage you to write it down, think about it, but talk about it with someone that you trust later today. So that's your homework assignment. All right. So I'm going to write in the chat. We're going to spend 5 minutes, okay, spending some time. You can pray, you can write, you can just turn your camera off. Again, this is an introverted friendly exercise. All right, here we go. Today, I'm ready to get real about. All right, you've got 5 minutes. And we're going to come back together. All right, we have about 30 seconds or so to kind of wrap up your reflection time. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for taking that time. So we're coming back together, and I mentioned you're off the hook. You don't have to share, but I'm hoping that some of you feel moved to do that. I'd love to hear kind of where you were prompted to go with that question. Today, I'm ready to get real about. Would anyone like to begin?
I was reflecting on ready to get real with my presence, my moment by moment presence, whether it's by myself, with another person, a grandchild, or in a community setting, just kind of bringing it into a smaller, slower moment to be real, because moments in my life get larger. And if I have the base of a small presence or moment or focus, then I might be more stable.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure folks can relate to just, yeah, where you went with the need or desire to be more present and have that moment focus versus kind of being out here, but kind of zeroing in, focusing in. So thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate your boldness in going first too. Anyone else feel moved to share kind of what you were reflecting about?
Yeah, hi. I am struggling a lot lately with my faith, and I was a little nervous to even join this book study. And I have been sober a long time, many, many years. And when my daughter was growing up, I went back to church. We did all the church things. I did everything there was to do. I sponsored people in a 12-step program, very faith-based. Since she grew up and left, and my husband of 30 years passed away, I found things out about the marriage. I lost my faith. And it's been about 4 years. And every month or so, I think I'm going to find, I think I was raised Roman Catholic, and I feel like it's, what you do and you get. You do this, you get this. That's how my mother was. And there's been, me and my mother, I'm pretty sure I've gone through the same trauma, and she is totally in denial of everything. And I don't know. So I'm getting real about my lack of faith. I do my meditations every morning. I try to talk to my God, higher power. Right now, I don't know. And I'm struggling with that because for more than 30 years, I would say that I was a very Christian faith based person. And now I don't know.
Well, I appreciate you sharing, Cynthia, and just having, again, the boldness to come to the group with that. And of confessing that, sharing that with, letting that off of your heart. I don't know if you've talked to other people about how you're feeling, but being, that's always where my mind goes is, virtual is amazing, but that one-on-one connection in person, to find that person that you feel safe with sharing one-on-one in person, or maybe it's another group. But, I think so many of us too can connect with that feeling of doubt and, is it a prayer in the Bible, or I don't know, there, someone says somewhere, Lord, help my unbelief. And it's like, I feel like I've lived a lot of my life, asking God, Lord, like I wanted to believe, I really did. I mean, I knew all the things that I feel like I did, that like you were sharing, Cynthia, do the right, you volunteer, you sign up for the meal train, you bring your kids to Sunday school, and you can kind of check all the boxes. But when it really comes down to it, for me, I had a moment of reckoning during 2020, and I got really sick and, turned on the news and, gosh, all this stuff was going on in the world and we didn't know what it was going to, was this a plague, is this the end of the world? Is this it? Is this the end times? Where am I supposed to go with that? But coming to a place of like, I just remember praying that prayer, like, Lord, help my unbelief, and I remember thinking like, I thought I had it. I thought I had faith. I thought I was I thought I was there. I had like reached some sort of destination. But in reality, God revealed to me that like, I don't know if he wanted me to come to him and like with my unbelief. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew the way God thought. But whatever the reasoning, I don't know. My faith is different today, but I'm grateful for those moments. And what I did too, Cynthia, was exactly what you're doing today is I shared about that with someone I trusted. And I was like, look, I want to believe. I thought I have before, but do I, and Lord, help my unbelief. So wish I had some like solutions for you today. All I can do is share my story and listen to yours. And encourage you to keep talking about it. But I'm really grateful that you brought that to the group today. I'm curious if anyone else can relate to those feelings or those moments of doubt, or even maybe questioning faith. I know in the book, bringing it back to the book, I talk about one of my favorite authors, Philip Yancey, who wrote a book called Where is God When It Hurts? And I think for a long time, my lack of belief was because I couldn't believe in God because of what I had been through. It was like, God, how could you let this happen? Just having all this anger and just not understanding, I just wanted to understand God ways. And I'm just like, I don't get you, God. I don't know why you allow suffering. Doesn't make sense to me. I want to believe in you, but so that book was really helpful for me in my journey. But more than just having like a resource for my intellect was, like I shared before, just this turning to God and just asking for help was, I think, what moved me in a different direction. I'm off on a tangent, Cynthia, but thank you for sharing where you're at with things. Oh, and you said you're not going to be able to attend next week. You're starting a new job. Well, congratulations on the new job. It's wonderful. I've really enjoyed connecting, and I hope we can stay connected. I don't know if you can find me online through my email.
I do. I'm follow you on Substack and.
Oh, yay. Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, please keep me updated on how things are going, and I'd love to hear from you. Anyone else want to share their reflection about maybe something you want to get real about today? And again, it is a, we don't like just kind of, what's the word? I feel like we are a group that just gets uncomfortable. That's part of what my books are, is just opportunities to get uncomfortable, because I think that's what helps us heal. That's what's helped me heal in the past. So maybe you didn't know what you were signing up for, but I hope you come back next week. Please come back and keep reading. I'm excited for you all and your stories. And again, I'd love for you to connect with someone live in real life and share maybe what you reflected on today. And Jennifer says, we are just introspective, and that's good. That's good. It's great, that reflective. And I have to say, Louise, every time I look up, I see your background with the cross and the sunset or the sun. It's just, that helps me too, kind of with that reflective mood. So I'm going to end here with one last reading. And then just remind folks, we're going to come back next week. We're going to talk about the fifth rhythm for those who have been there, let God and living open-handed. And one of the things that we didn't talk a ton about, but that also is included in the third and fourth sections of the book is like a little mini course on spiritual formation. So some things just, like prayer and like reading and of course what we've done, reflection, but things that we can do that can help us along that process. Gail, you mentioned earlier, or I'm sorry, Dee, being, having this journey like an onion, peeling back the layers, or having this journey of sanctification, or however we want to look at it. But there are things that we can do to take action to move us along our healing. So, all right, here we are. Last reading for the morning or afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. Page 162, and this is from the chapter, Our Stories Are Bigger. Page 162. There's a verse of scripture in the book of Matthew that answers this question. How can we move from heavy to light? From the weight of the world, whether that's divorce, trauma, addiction, to freedom. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And that's from Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Jesus will help us with the weight of what we carry. Oh, sorry, I have to read that. This is a question. I have to rephrase how I was saying this. Jesus will help us with the weight of what we carry, like an Uber driver with Southern manners. Even though in exchange for this rest, there is another yoke. We still need bags if we are going somewhere. Jesus promises that because of his gentle and humble spirit, a new rest can be found. A lot of questions here. If I'm honest, a part of me resists this simplicity. And this is where I've come in with some doubt of my own, you all. What about my past? And what about my hurt? What about my mother? I've learned that I've had to ask these painful questions over and over again, questions where a simple Bible verse isn't enough. I've had to dig in with a therapist, in community, and in recovery, analyzing these questions and being honest with myself. Understanding our stories is about more than just being honest with our mistakes or unhealthy patterns. It's about looking long and carefully, taking it all in at what we are feeling and why when we've made those mistakes. Such an effort has an outcome of metabolizing the pain in a way that addiction never can. It can move us to a place where we can experience living in recovery. When I look at the honest timeline of my life and how God has shown up, how recovery has transformed my life, and how I have been able to, one rhythm at a time, disrupt the cycle of trauma for my past and my family, for me, there is no question. Transformation is possible. And it's not just me. I've worked with so many women and met others while speaking at churches and conferences who share their own incredible testimonies of transformation that happened after they got honest about their stories and accepted all of it with open hands. It's not easy when we share our timelines, examine the painful roots of our past, or admit how much we may have in common with our parents. Yet with each step forward of getting real, we are one step closer to healing, one step further along the journey of becoming ourselves. And that's where we're going to end tonight. Looks like we have a couple comments tonight. See where I'm at. I'm like, oh, tonight. My day's done, y'all. I don't know about you, but I'm done. No, this afternoon or this morning. Louise is sharing again about her background pick. Thank you so much for reminding us, Luther Dell Bible Camp. And Dee wrote a note in the comment. I'm going to say, to me, sanctification is being made right with God. I was reminded that God has already made us right in Christ. Yes, my ego has a need to control how and why it is done. I can connect with that. I just have to receive it. Beautiful. And those are all lovely words to end on. So thank you all for joining today. I hope this conversation was a blessing and an encouragement to you as you move throughout the rest of your day and into the rest of your week. So thank you again for joining, and I hope everyone comes back if you can next week, and we'll have our final closing session.
Yes, and keep posted on the Conference of Addiction and Faith. We often have book clubs going on every month with new speakers as they arise. We are going on a cruise coming up real soon. So I'm really excited. We're doing Breathing Underwater. Maybe we'll come back and share some of that when we come back from the cruise. So with that, let us close with anybody else want to say a word of prayer instead of me? I have no need. Did you raise your hand, Cynthia? Or it just turned upside down? No, I guess. All right, let us pray. Lord God, thank you for these words of wisdom and encouragement and the support from one another. We lift it up in your name and know that you carry us all forward into this world. In thy name, amen. God bless. Have a good week.
Bye all. Thank you.